Hello everyone and welcome to Sabina Park for the third test between the West Indies and Australia, which gets underway tomorrow our time. I'm Adam White and I'm joined by Bharat, Sundaresan, and of course the new ball is proudly brought to you by Cobram Estate, and of course Cobram Estate is
harvested and first cold pressed in northern Victoria, but it's bloody good in every other part of the country.
perfect. Okay, so let's preview the third test, because we are actually in a very famous place, Sabina Park here in Kingston, Jamaica. It's where Gary Sobers made 365 not out against Pakistan, which was the test record for the highest score for a number of years. It was also where, if you remember back in probably the 80s and 90s particularly, the pitch was like a mirror. They would actually polish it and you could actually see your reflection when they tossed the coin before the first ball, or even in that first hour of play when a batter would actually get ready to face the first ball. He could actually see himself in the reflection. It was like a polished concrete. That's what it kind of looked like. Very different here, Bharat, as we get ready for this test match starting tomorrow. We're actually in the Headley stand, which we'll talk about shortly, but the pitch looks greenish, an even cover of grass. I know the players are much more comfortable looking at this pitch compared to what we had in the first two, but there does look something in it for the bowlers.
It does, and you've become used to it in pink ball test matches. And when day-night test cricket started in 2015, famously in Adelaide, you just felt that it would become a thing all around the world. It clearly hasn't caught on. Others have dabbled with it here and there. The West Indies had one test match in 2018 in Barbados, West Indies, Sri Lanka, and this is the second ever day-night test in the Caribbean. And the first time I've come to the Sabina Park with lights here. So I was there officially 2-3 nights ago when the lights came on for the cricket. The Reggae boys, who are not too far from qualifying for the next FIFA World Cup, have played a couple of games here. Mitch Starc did mention that if we haven't gone up, we've been close to this pitch, but apparently you can still see the center line of the last time they played a soccer game on the pitch. So it's a bit rough and ready, the stadium right now. But with the pitch itself, and I think it'll be more a question of what the ball does. And just watching the training sessions the last few days, the Red Dukes did a lot in the air. The Pink Duke seems to be playing even more tricks. So you'd assume that it's going to be another test match where batting's not going to be easy, not straightforward anyway. Before we even get into the whole the arbitrary nature of pink ball test cricket, where it's different during twilight, it's different at night, it's different during the day.
We are competing with a very loud PA system here, so apologies for that, but it's been going on for most of the afternoon, so there's not too much we can do about it. So let's talk about the lights, because in the build-up to this, Bharat, there was this feeling that maybe it might have to go back to a day game, because the lights have only been up literally 3 weeks. They were supposed to be ready at the very start of the year. That hasn't happened. As you said, we were both here watching them train, the Australians, a couple of nights ago. I think it's okay to bat. The lights are very bright actually on the pitch, but there are some pockets in the outfield that reminds me a little bit about, almost watching AFL football training back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when they'd train in the twilight into the night, where the lights weren't great, but that's all they had. It feels a bit like that here too in the outfield.
It does, and which is why Australia in particular was so particular about wanting to do a lot of fielding training here, especially catching training in the dark patches. And because you have pretty tall 4-level grandstands on either side, and they have lights installed on top of the grandstand. Obviously the grandstand then casts this odd shadow on the ground, so we saw both nights, there are dark patches on both sides, so it'll be interesting if a catch does go there, or if a catch is coming to you from that dark patch, how it impacts you. They had an expert from Mexico fly down a few days ago, and his takeaway, he was here for 1 day, was the way they record the light when it comes to the cricket. It's the center area, the infield and the outfield. And according to him, apparently he's happier. The readings are slightly higher than what they generally are, which means it's better. According to those numbers, you'd think this is the best lights facility ever in the history of day-night test cricket. I don't know how that's going to play out. But the match referee has been here, the umpires have been here, and it looks like we're going ahead with the pink ball test. But I think there'll be more already vagaries when it comes to day-night test cricket. This will just add to it.
Really love this music to stop, but anyway, it's not. And then the ball, you sort of spoke about it. it's got a lot of the Australians talking. They found it really difficult to actually play against it, not because they couldn't see it, but just how much it was actually moving. And the players are almost joking about it, saying, particularly the batters, we had it really difficult in the first 2 test matches with a pitch that was up and down, and we probably didn't give that enough credit, how difficult it was to bat based on the conditions. Having a further chat to the Australian players, they kind of explained just how hard it was. Now we've got a ball that's going to be really difficult for them, so it's just another challenge that they've both got to bat with it. So it's not like it's favouring one team over the other, but it's going to be a challenge.
Before that, I'll say we've been very fair, Whitey. I don't think we did not give enough credit to we spoke constantly about how difficult batting conditions were. But I mean, what do you expect the player to say? Is he going to say, no, they were very easy, but we made it look...
Maybe I was speaking to the players that weren't making runs.
Exactly, clearly you were. Don't be so gullible, Adam White. No, I'm just kidding, but no, I think it has been a difficult batting series, no doubt. And I mean, the conditions at Lords weren't easy to bat, but they got easier to bat as the days were on. Here it's been the reverse. It starts difficult and then the difficulty level just goes through the roof, which also then brings us to that one question mark going into this test. Sam Con's test, and Cam Green, yes, he got the 50, Usman Khawaja. So what are we going to really learn about them here? Because it's a pink ball test. It's a kind of pink ball that these guys will not use in Australia for the Ashes. The lights are interesting. We don't know much about them. So I guess we'll just have to judge this game, but I don't know how much we can read into what happens here with regards to what impact it might have for selection. If they make runs, great. If they don't make runs, well, it'll be one of those things. Again, we'll be left in that whole lurch of like, is it the conditions? Should we talk more about the conditions? But I mean, at the end of the day, it is Test cricket, and you just have to find a way of scoring runs, like Steve Smith did last week.
Exactly. And look, there's been nearly a week since the last test, and we've asked a lot of questions of a lot of players, the coaches, around what are they actually going to take out of this series. And there's no real sort of categoric answer from anyone, really. It's kind of like, well, it is so different to what we were probably expecting, and certainly very different to what we're going to get in Australia. So I think they're all as much confused as anyone as to what to take out of it. Okay, let's get into the team news, because I think this is really interesting. Pat Cummins spoke to us a short time ago. Now, for Test 1 and Test 2, they were very clear on what the team would be. They announced it, not the 12, but the 11, and we just got on with business. But less than 24 hours out from this third test, we don't know what the team is going to be, and it feels like the conjecture is actually whether they will play Nathan Lyon or not. If they don't, it's probably going to be Scott Boland. They go with 4 pacemen, maybe Sean Abbott as well, but the gut feeling is that because the conditions are going to be so suited to the faster bowlers, and Nathan Lyon's not really had a lot of work in the first 2, and I guess, Bharat, the other question is they've really tried to take Nathan Lyon down, and this is a very short ground straight. Do they play Scott Boland and leave Nathan Lyon out, which would be really tough on Nathan, obviously, but also for Mitch Starc, because those two are so close, and Mitch is obviously Mitch Starc playing in his 100th test, so there's a bit going on.
No, I mean, like, Nathan Lyon will still be in the dressing room, so it'll only be on the field. I think it'll just come down to, it'll be a huge call. And yes, Nathan Lyon, this is the most expensive series he's had in his history. But if you just break down what he's done with the ball, he's not bowled a lot to the top order. And even the top order or the middle order have gone after him. Brandon King hit him for 6s, but then he's got them out. So Brandon King hit him for 2 6s, and then he got a wicket. And then with the Josephs, it's just 6 or out. And yes, they've hit him for 6s, but then he's also got them out. And it's come at a part of the game where the game's almost gone. So it'll be a huge call for them to take against Nathan Lyon, because he's still averaging 21 or 22 with the ball in this series, despite conceding all those 6s. And he has mopped up the tail pretty much in all 4 innings so far, famously under lights in Barbados. So I guess it's a question of maybe whether it's a repeat of Hobart, where they didn't have to use Nathan Lyon at all, and the 3 fast bowlers got the job done. So it might actually come down to that. I can't see Sean Abbott making his debut. I mean, you kind of, watching the nets and practice, he was at the back. One of the other support staff giving him throwdown, so the coaches weren't there. So if you're making your test debut tomorrow, that's not how it works. Scott Boland, like you and I brush our teeth, he puts the cones out and does his thing anyway. So you can't read much into whether that means he's playing or not. But I think that's the only change I can potentially see. You said Boland for Lyon. But it'll be really, I mean, forget about the sentimentality of it. It'll be a really harsh call, in my opinion, on Nathan Lyon. But yeah, I mean, the short boundaries, I mean, where we are sat in the commentary box, literally every box has a ball mark because someone's hit a six. I remember famously Marlon Samuels hit one the day before a T20 in 2017, the last time I came here, and nothing's really changed. That mark stays. Maybe like some marks on the seats and everything else also have stayed since 2011 when I first came here. So yeah, I still can't see it happening, but they've left it out there. It's good for a lot of the journalists here. There's not much happening in the lead up to the match. At least there's some speculation they can write about.
Yeah, so certainly it wasn't on the radar necessarily. It was only that Pat Cummins didn't guarantee the 11 and didn't guarantee that Nathan Lyon would play. So, yeah, we were a bit surprised by it, and then we start to think, the rationale around, well, if they were to leave him out, it is for the reasons that we've mentioned. Probably will play, but you never know. I mean, we're right next to the pitch, just casting our eye on it at the moment. It's not a green monster by any stretch of the imagination, but there's certainly going to be something in it for the bowlers. We know that. We know about the pink ball. We think it's going to be a quick test match. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, a couple more things before we leave the new ball for Cobram Estate as this special preview edition. Mitch Starc and 100 test matches. There's been a lot spoken, there's been a lot written about him in the build-up to this one. The one thing that sort of stands out for me with Mitch is that he came into international cricket essentially as a specialist white ball player. It took him a while to sort of settle down and be seen as a regular member of the team in red ball cricket, test cricket. But what stands out to me is just how resilient he's been, and 100 test matches proves that. He's only the second fast bowler in Australian test cricket history to get to 100 test matches. He might get 400 test wickets in this match, but to be able to not only do it in test cricket, but to be able to do it in white ball cricket for as long as he has done, I think it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. And I think this is a great opportunity now to celebrate what he's been able to do over a long period of time. When the start, it wasn't stop-start necessarily, but he might have been a bit of a slow burn before he has got the credit he's deserved in Test cricket.
I'm completely with you there. I remember the first time I came to Australia was 2014 when I was in India series when Mitchell Starc was first criticised by Shane Warne during the Gabba test. Same test where Josh Hazlewood made his debut about his body language. And honestly, anyone you spoke to outside India or outside Australia wouldn't be able to fathom why Australia never seemed to get Mitchell Starc. Australian cricket fans, Australian experts, former players. Maybe it didn't help that, and I asked him this yesterday in the press conference, it's rare that you make your debut where you have a namesake doing the same thing that you're doing and doing it at a very high level. And that's what Mitchell Johnson was. So you could see that he was under Mitchell Johnson's shadow, and also there was this expectation that he would just take over from Mitchell Johnson, which he did, and obviously has gone many steps ahead in terms of the number of matches he's played and the wickets he's taken. But aggressive left-handed batter, aggressive left-arm bowler, quick bowler, but he just didn't have the natural aggression. He didn't have the tattoos, and I mean, we know Mitch Johnson is not the most aggressive of people off the field, but on the field he had that look about him, didn't he? So I think for a while those comparisons probably didn't go Mitch Starc's way, but then he just stuck to it. And there's also been this whole feeling at times with you speak to other captains that because of just his body language and just his personality, it has looked like, oh, maybe, if he's not having a good day, he doesn't feel comfortable being out there. But you speak to anyone, Pat Cummins or anyone who's really captain or played alongside him, he's been a warrior, that's what they call him. We saw him in Sydney a few years ago, that broken finger, and there was blood leaking out, and he would hold the finger in between deliveries and then give it his all. Here he is at 35-36, still bowling 8-9 overs on the trot in these humid conditions. You're right, maybe it's a chance now for Australian cricket fans and Australian cricket overall to recognize what they've had, like the special talent they've had with them. And you look at the overall numbers as well. He's number 3 on the list for the best record for someone playing their 100th test. There's only Glenn McGrath and Wasim Akram ahead of him. And then a slew of legends behind him, Ambrose and Walsh and all those guys. Maybe not Ambrose, didn't play 100. Walsh and Donald and all those guys are behind him. So I think it's a great day. And the beauty of Mitch Starc is, I've always felt this, because he doesn't like to talk about himself. Even yesterday he was like, I don't like this attention at all. That's also played into this whole narrative that Mitch Starc is underappreciated.
The Steamroller is coming out to roll the pitch at the moment. It's the biggest roller I've absolutely ever seen. We might actually get a shot of that from our wonderful cameraman, Bryce McGain. That is one roller. That's not the heavy roller, that's the Steamroller. So just wrapping up here from Sabina Park, this is the new ball for Cobram Estate, less than 24 hours out from the third test. Just Kingston, Jamaica, Sabina Park. We talked about the history at the start when it comes to West Indian cricket. The city itself has its challenges. I'm more nervous about here than you are, Bharat. But I mean, even, there's police escorts from the hotel to the ground. The players are encouraged strongly to just stay in the hotel. I know they are celebrities here, as they are around the world, well recognised. But it is a challenging place. There's no question about that. How have you found it, considering it's been a while since you've been here?
Yeah, I mean, statistically, it is rated one of the most unsafe countries or cities in the world. And, you speak to Jamaicans who live in Kingston, they don't like that stat at all. But there are parts of this city, many parts of the city, where even they'll advise you not to go to. Or like a friend of mine told me yesterday, if you go looking for trouble in Kingston, you'll find trouble. And so it's best advice you don't go to those places. But I think it is largely a result of just the disparity between rich and poor in this country. We didn't see it in Grenada, we don't see it in Barbados, but here there are the super rich who all live up in the hills, and then there's a lot of poverty, and I think that's what leads to a lot of crime in this part. So you kind of feel for them. It's a big, bustling town, Kingston. The roads have never been great, but there's always a lot happening here. I know it's been a bit too intense for you, but to say the least.
I've been pretty brave.
You have, but not brave enough to come out for a meal with me.
No.
But that will happen. I promise you that will happen before this test match ends. I mean, if you let it happen, or if you lock yourself in the room, which I think you will, if I come for you.
Maybe lunchtime in the daylight hours might be a bit easier.
But I think it's a good point you bring up. In daylight hours, there are so many places you can go to in Kingston, and you should kind of see what the locals are doing. There is so much history, even looking down from where our commentary box is, these houses right next to the Sabina Park, those guys would have seen it all. And you speak of history, there's Australian history as well, that famous 95 series, Steve Waugh, Headley Ambrose, it all happened here. So lots to look forward to. It's a pity that I don't think the organizers or the association feel many people are going to come. This entire section of the ground is going to be blockaded unless a lot of people.
Well, the locals are saying they're going to turn up, so we're going to have to wait and see. Okay, now before we go, this is something a bit special. It's a bit unusual. We're in the George Headley stand. Now, George Headley is an icon in West Indian cricket, but the seats here are very interesting. Now, we're sitting on seats that were actually used at the Atlanta Olympics back in 1996. All these seats, these blue seats, which make up the entire stand here, were from the Olympic pool, where Kieran Perkins from Lane 8 won an Olympic Games gold medal. And here they are, repurposed from 1996 here at the stadium. They've been here for a while, but it's a very unusual situation to have all the seats that come from Atlanta.
And there's no real rationale or reasoning given here. So it's not like the plaque of wow, they landed up here. Yeah, but part of my Australian education has been that was a special gold, wasn't it? It's the rarest of gold.
Rarest of gold.
There you go. So it is. We are part of history when we take our seat here. 96 Atlanta Olympics, almost 30 years ago. But yeah, sadly, for now, these will not be occupied. Unless if you are listening to us in Jamaica, as they are on 11 stations, as Andrew Mason likes to tell us, then come out and make it an atmosphere. The mount stand, the party stand, will be. I mean, I don't know how many Australian.
Well, there'll be lots of noise. We know that much from these speakers.
I don't know whether there'll be actual noise from the public themselves. Kingston Cricket Club, generally you'll see a lot of members turn up, maybe a couple of former players as well. So there will be a bit of an atmosphere, but I think it'll be more about us just reveling in what happened or what once happened here rather than what is about to happen.
And we'll hope to bring you as much of that as we can through the test match. Particularly, I'm keen for Bharat to take me into the Kingston Cricket Club because there is so much history in that club. It's a very unusual setup, more something you would see at a suburban cricket ground, but here it is at a test ground, one of the most famous grounds. I'm keen to explore that as well. This has been the new ball for Cobram Estate. We hope you've enjoyed all the build-up. Now, the times. This is takes a bit to get used to. 1:30 local time is when the first ball will be bowled. So that is 4:30 back in Australia Eastern Standard Time, and it'll go all the way through pretty much until midday. So it's a much more user-friendly time to watch Test cricket back in Australia. So make sure you're watching and listening to us through SEN Sync, or just having a line on a Sunday morning or a Monday morning maybe in school holidays, listening to us SEN Test cricket. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. Bharat, we got one more to go. Should be a good one.
Oh, it'll be a quick one for sure, and I think it'll be a good one. It'll be really exciting. So perfect time. Just like you've been going to bed with us, now wake up to us, and now you don't even have to worry about taking that break. And if you are, in a shed somewhere and you're drinking through the night, then you don't even have to bother about going to bed. Just stick with us till noon, and then hit the bed.
Terrific. Okay, that's how you can listen to us live from Sabina Park in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica. That's it from us for the new ball for Cobram Estate. We'll catch you again tomorrow.